Welcome to the next episode of Click Wars. This episode, and we're taking a different tangent because I think that we've spoken to predominantly SEO people before, and really, in my interest personally, is not just being a solely SEO. This is, it's the Click Wars podcast. It should do all the other forms of traffic and how to turn those clicks into gold at the end of the day. And so I'm actually very interested in this one. There's more than one way to skin a cat in affiliate, and so hopefully this will be a really interesting one. I've got Alex Goldberg with me. You might have seen him on the Starter Story episode that came out relatively recently that shone a light into both the SEO plus paid ads affiliate side. Hopefully we're going to talk about some interesting funnel related stuff, paid ad stuff, and yeah, Alex, introduce yourself, man.
Ever felt like your blog could do with a bit of an SEO boost? Well, I found your answer. Link Whisper.
Imagine effortlessly adding internal links to your posts, boosting your SEO without breaking a sweat. That's the Link Whisper speciality.
Absolutely. With Link Whisper right under your article, you get tailor-made suggestions for your internal links, and the cherry on top, connect it with Google Search Console and you're off to the races.
Yep, it uses those keywords directly from Google Search Console for that perfect anchor text.
And if you're posting something new, Link Whisper is like your SEO sidekick. It scans your site, finds relevant content, and suggests where and how to link back to your latest post.
So for your orphan posts, Link Whisper's pretty handy.
Yeah, gone are the days of crawling through your site with complex tools and spreadsheets. Link Whisper finds these orphan pages and allows you to add links from your WordPress dashboard.
And let's not forget the related post widget. So this can be displayed as a bulleted list or within a blog post thumbnail. You get a specific set of articles to be related, or you can have them auto-select them for you.
You can even handpick specific articles and let the magic of automation decide. And for those orphan posts we mentioned, they're getting prioritized, ensuring every post gets the love it deserves.
So, to all you bloggers looking to step up your game, give Link Whisper a whirl.
Use the code ClickWars, all one word, for $20 off. And now back to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Glad to be on. Big fan of the pod, and it's an honor to be here. But I'm Alex. I'm based in Los Angeles, born and raised. I moved up to the Bay Area for my first college and my first few jobs. Learned about kind of all things marketing, paid, organic, online, offline. And then started my own company in 2018 as a side hustle. As you mentioned in the starter story, kind of goes over all of that journey, and eventually grew this side hustle, which was a portfolio of product review, product comparison sites focused on the health and wellness niche, into a 7-figure business, both reliant on SEO as well as paid media arbitrage, which we'll talk about today. And then recently sold that business. And here to tell you that there's opportunity beyond SEO, especially as you're looking to either recover or scale. And happy to share some of my learnings throughout my journey.
Yeah, the thing that I always, I was glad that I got into SEO, and when I did, I had no money, and so I had time, and so I traded time for money, right? But there's a limit to what you can do in some niches because there's just not enough search volume and not enough clicks. And so when you can make clicks happen at an unlimited scale, that really is interesting to me now as someone who'd rather not spend time on things and would rather exchange money for more money if I can find opportunities to do so. I'd rather do that. And there's a lot of people looking for other sources of traffic now. Facebook and Pinterest are two of the most popular ones. People growing newsletters. And they're all good, like especially newsletters, because I think that's the one I'm most interested out of those three. But with something like Pinterest, you still need demand. You still need people looking for these things to be able to drive traffic. Whereas with potential ads on very large volumes of users on Facebook and Instagram and Google searches, you can always be at the top, and it's a lot more, there's a lot more room to drive traffic from. So I'm very interested in this one. Just as like a first, I guess, question, because you did both the SEO and the paid ad side as a hybrid. Was it the same content that you were both driving paid to for the same sort of keywords, or did you have different landing pages? The reason I ask is because I had fairly set out templates for myself and I was just doing content and SEO that was sort of a hybrid of this will rank well and this will also convert well. But do you have two different forms if you run paid ads that are just purely about, for example, a top 10 best or a versus article or a review article?
Yeah, great question. So you definitely want different landing pages for organic and paid, and there's two reasons why. Primary reasons. There's probably more, but in my mind, the two big reasons are one, tracking. So you want to be very clean and differentiate the tracking between each, both for your own optimizations as well as potentially for your partners as an affiliate. They often care, like where's the traffic coming from, and maybe we'll even incentivize the traffic in different ways. And then the second big reason, of course, is as you mentioned, conversion. Like different traffic sources, people coming from different places will need sort of a different funnel to convert. So to be more concrete about it, mostly the paid arbitrage that I was doing was on search, so Google. And when people are searching, you can think about it being a very similar path, maybe even the same keywords that would be leading someone to my organic article as well as a paid landing page. But the difference is that you're paying for one of them and the other one is free. And so when you're paying for traffic, you want to be as airtight with it as possible, especially in crowded, competitive, expensive niches like the one I was in. If you're paying $4 for that click, you want to make sure that that person is the right person and that you're showing them the right things with limited escape paths. So yeah, it was mostly a top 5, top 10 kind of landing page. You can think of it as best of, but more than just trying to get this article to rank, you're really trying to get people to convert. And so you can slim down the content, you can be more direct, and have bigger buttons with less words is maybe one sort of way to summarize that.
Interesting. And so from the starter story interview, like although you had lots of sites, I believe the main one was called Fin versus Fin, which compared like different like men's wellness things, right? So you had like I presume that comes from Finasteride. I presume the original, but I might be wrong. Like because I saw there was like hair loss related things on there. What made you think this is a niche that we can go into, and how do you decide which niches you're going to be able to run profitably for SEO and paid ads campaigns?
I wish I could say I had the grand vision for paid and SEO at the onset, and I wish I also had the vision of saying I was going to go after health and wellness as a niche at the onset. But that's really just not the case. That would be revisionist history. In reality, what happened is I was working with a partner, and we were working at a fintech company at the time. And we said we just gotta get into the game. We just have to get started. We're not very creative. We don't have a grand vision. Um, but a lot of entrepreneurial advice is take that first step, dive in, and you'll figure your way out from there. And that was really true for us. So having worked at a fintech company at the time, our idea was actually fintech versus fintech,
Oh,
comparing
so it's just
different.
it's just like a coincidence that it's also the same name of like some of the products that like you'd be comparing.
Yeah, and then we saw really big venture capital rounds going to just general telemedicine, general online health companies, and we thought, maybe we'll start to dabble in that realm and help people understand those options. It's also a very considered purchase, just like say a credit card is, or a 401k platform or something of that nature. So yeah, we started to compare that, and it was a nice coincidence that finasteride, which is a very common hair loss medication and one of our best areas of growth and partnership, also happened to have that same kind of like starting few letters. But yeah, no, Fin versus Fin initially was in the fintech realm. We pivoted to focus on health and wellness, never looked back because we got a lot of traction in partnerships there.
Nice. And yeah, it's interesting actually. I'm 2 hair transplants in. It might be difficult to tell, and to keep it all good, it's I have to take the finasteride every couple of days. I don't take it every day because it can apparently give you side effects, but once every 2 days sorts me out. So it was interesting seeing that. Be like, oh, that's the niche. I should have thought about that.
You're looking
Yeah.
pretty good, actually, at least on camera. I wouldn't have been able to guess, but yeah, every man, and a lot of women as well will lose their hair as they age, and it's obviously an important part of confidence and relationships and all the rest. And so people are really willing to solve that problem and solve it fast and try new things. So it happens to be a good niche for lifetime value, as well as kind of conversion rate as well. There are other health and wellness niches. There's many niches outside of health and wellness that exhibit those same qualities, but it's part of the reason. Those qualities are part of the reason that paid arbitrage is possible.
Right. And so arbitrage to me, when I hear that, just the word arbitrage, it sounds because you talk about like lifetime value of a customer then if they're going to keep reordering, and so it's not like it's a case of like you understand that's a long term thing, and to do something with a long term thing, is it just running to a landing page converting, or is there a multi-step funnel in there to be able to do that for something that's perhaps as emotional as those types of goods that might need a lot of coaxing along the buying pattern, right?
Yes, it depends. You have to sort of test into these things and see what the economics are and what the user behavior is. I bet it's different for a lot. For every niche, it might require a different level of touch, different level of explanation and education. But in the hair loss realm, just to use that as a concrete example, the lifetime value is for the provider of that hair loss medication. The initial purchase may be quite low. It might be $40. It might be $100. Um, but as you've been treating your hair loss ever since you started, and you likely are never to stop. And so with that in mind, these companies who sell these drugs are willing to pay, or I should say, these treatments in general are willing to pay a lot as a commission upfront for that customer, even if the initial AOV, even if that initial sale isn't very much. So it's kind of a function of what the company expects to gain value-wise from that customer, and that's their willingness to pay for it, even if that initial purchase or even just the initial lead isn't like super valuable on day one. But it's a function of their understanding of what that customer will be valued to them over time, and it's that translates generally into payout. And there's a lot more flexibility and creativity in payout structures as an affiliate when a company has high lifetime value. Put differently, if the company doesn't have lifetime value, if it's a one and done purchase and it wasn't very much to start with, their ability to pay you and their ability to pay you a lot is quite low, unless they're going to run their company into the ground. So it's pretty simple, economics, supply, demand, is there margin, is there not margin, kind of thing. But in the realm of hair loss, actually, yes, people are quite willing to fill out a forum after reading a bit of information. Likely indicates how eager they are to solve that problem. So
Right. Okay, interesting. Yeah. I just yeah, so if it's low initial order, the companies just understand that the lifetime value is so good, so they'll pay you significantly above that order for you to send them those leads, so that then they can make money in the long term. Okay, that makes sense. So I guess in my mind I was thinking if this is going to be something that has I didn't think of the low initial order, so I'm thinking it was probably going to be something that requires multiple steps of like warming them up, getting them to unuse that, like, sequencing, getting them across the line over time. But actually, if it's a low average order and it's something they want to solve immediately, you're able to do that just from one ad click to the eventual place where you immediately get paid. If I'm understanding that correctly.
that's right. Yeah, and also have just these. You can broker these different partnerships with different brands to make the line that you have to cross in order to get paid. You can move it further and further forward if they're hungry and hungrier to grow, or if their lifetime value is more and more. Um, Basically, yeah, it's most partners will pay you for a customer, but in certain realms that I've discovered in the health and wellness space, they actually don't feel comfortable paying you for a customer. They want to pay you for a lead. It's because they're regulated by different authorities, and pay to play in the medical space in particular is often scrutinized or harder for the legal teams at these companies to swallow and be okay with. So instead, they'll say, great, we'll pay you for traffic, or we'll pay you for contacts, but we're not paying you for customers. And that works out well as an affiliate as well, because that transaction or conversion is both easier to achieve as affiliate and is easier to track in many cases. But all of these things are negotiable. The very first step is finding a partner that is eager for growth and has high lifetime value. And once those are sorted, then you can be pretty creative in how you approach them and work with them to drive new clicks, leads, or customers.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like the perfect deal because you don't have to worry about actually converting. You get to pay for the lead because the legal structures that they find themselves in very much benefits the affiliate side of the traffic. Yeah, I guess it's just a matter of finding those really good niches and then testing it and then really diving into those if you can make it work. Very interesting. Yeah. On your landing page for the course that I know you sell now for, or you're taking pre-orders for the paid ads affiliate side, for I guess focus more towards people who want to go and expand and diversify from just organic traffic. You mentioned that one thing that like many affiliates struggle with is a spending on a funnel that you can't 100% control. Now, that was like one of the most interesting things of that, because I was thinking like, like what is control with like a funnel? Because if you're doing organic, I guess you don't control it because you have to keep driving traffic every day, and there's no real thing you can turn it on or off. You're reliant on where your position is and the behavior of people to click on that organically rather than, I guess, forcing your way into the top. Um, beyond the differences in traffic sources, with like struggle to spend on a funnel you can't control, like what do you do with your methodology that makes it more controllable? Because I think people also associate high risk with this stuff because you're paying out with uncertain reward.
Yeah, so what I mean by that is basically there's two components of it. Affiliates generally struggle to see the value in spending. Number one, it's risky, like you said. If you're an organic based affiliate, the floor is zero. The floor is that you made $0 that day or that period, but you're not really losing money. I guess you're wasting your time, and maybe you've hired somebody, so maybe there's the potential to lose some money down the road, time and energy that you're wasting. But you are not every single minute losing money on ads and traffic that you've bought that is not converting. And so when you start to dip your toe into the realm of paid affiliate or paid media arbitrage, you definitely have your floor is not zero. You can actually lose money doing this, and you can lose it very rapidly. You can put money on the barbecue and light it on fire if you're not careful. So there's a lot of work that I do going into these to sort of de-risk that. But the second part of that is the control part, I think. And so, if you had your own product, for instance, if you were selling your own course like I am, or if you were selling a physical product, well, then you would control the funnel almost completely. You would be able to target the certain keywords that you're going after, and then you have some sort of idea of what the intent is behind those keywords. You drive them to your own landing page or your own piece of content, and you control every single word that's on that page. And then you send them to the checkout experience, and you control that checkout experience. And so if you control it from end to end, so to speak, you might be willing to put some dollars into it because you can fine tune it, you can test it over time. But as an affiliate, you naturally 100% of the time don't have control over that last step. You are sending the traffic, referring the traffic to somebody else's site, and therefore you don't control that experience. And so I think where a lot of affiliates get hung up is, I'm not going to ever feel comfortable sending paid traffic to somebody else's funnel. I might be able to feel comfortable sending organic traffic because, again, I don't have to pay for it. So that's kind of what I mean by that, is that there's sort of two sides that you have to overcome there: the willingness to pay and potentially the risk of losing, but also understanding that you would be more willing to do that if you fully controlled the experience for the user, but inherently you don't as an affiliate. So that's I think that's something that a lot of folks can't get over.
Yeah. I'm used to, I follow a lot of e-commerce people now, and they're always talking about the big next creative and being very creative with these crazy hooks and like crazy user generated content styles that someone's trying to find a new way to stop the scroll and everything else. But for you, you've mostly, and I believe you've done some meta ads, but mostly focused on Google, where it's less differentiated, if that makes sense. But you have it's not a huge like video on the screen, or it's words and copy that then send you to the landing page. How do you make sure that you're stealing the clicks and differentiate sufficiently on Google ads where there's less differentiation than a video or anything else you can do on these other platforms that are more interactive?
Yeah. So on the one hand, it's very nice how simple it is to manage. I don't have to be super creative. I don't have to work with amazingly beautiful actors. I don't have to nail the hook and get 25 iterations of the hook just to lead them into stop the scroll, as you mentioned. So in many ways, there's less guesswork. And actually, another huge reason why paid is great relative to organic, even if you're just working with words on a page like a blog, is you don't have to really refresh the content all that often. I mean, you're managing a landing page. You're not managing a 2,000 word blog post or a content cluster or whatever. It's quite simple to manage. There is the ads themselves to manage, ad copy and ad campaigns and all that, and that adds a different level of complexity depending on how comfortable you are with that, but and how much experience you have running ads and understanding algorithmic bidding and all that. But from a content perspective, it is much easier to manage, a lot fewer moving parts. How do you differentiate? Well, I think one key thing to remember is that on Google, when somebody is searching, they are actively shopping for the most part, and so you can target very high intent keywords. And then it's not really about differentiating your ad copy. It's more about just collecting the highest intent users. And if you can pretty much only pay for the highest intent users, the ones who are going to make a purchase very soon, and you can help them do that, then you don't need to be super differentiated. Another way of putting this is that the shoppers are a little further down funnel, and you might need to educate them a little bit less. You're not necessarily stealing the click. I do think there's actually some serious education that's happening for the user, because they're comparison shopping. And so from the brand partner or the affiliate partner's perspective, in many cases, depending on the keyword that you're bidding on or the entry point for this user, it's still very valuable for these brands to have you acquire them for them, because there's a category of keywords that you as a third party affiliate are better and more credible, sort of winning and helping people compare and shop with, relative to the brand themselves, just screaming from the hilltops like, I am the greatest brand of all time, I'm better than all my competitors. They're less credible doing that themselves than they are if they work with you. So my point is that you really got to just target the right keywords. That's really where the rubber meets the road. And if you can, then you find very high intent users, where it's not the ad copy or the video per se, the creative, that's doing the work there. It's more your landing page. But you are pretty certain that these are very high intent users. And so, yeah, there's just less work that needs to be done to grab them in. But there's still some work that is done on the page to educate them and get them over the line.
For sure. So when I mean like steal the click, I don't really mean from the brands. I mean just because I'm assuming that there's other affiliates going after these as well. And so how do you make sure they click on yours if they're in the comparison mindset? And like how do you tweak the copy or make sure that you are getting the most clicks for those searches of the limited number of searches there are in a day to make sure you're driving the most profitable traffic?
Yeah. So getting really, really tight with your keyword targeting. A lot of people will start really broad, with broad match types, broad-based keywords, and then it's hard to match the searcher's intent, like the actual query they typed into Google, to match your ad copy and then also match your landing page. But if you keep it very, very tight, like what I would call single keyword ad groups, SKAGs, like that's it. There's only one keyword in the ad group, and it might be exact match. From that perspective, you can be very, very tight with the keyword the query that they've entered into Google, matching the ad copy on your headline, matching the landing page headline as well. And so, from that perspective, you can eke out some CTR, you can steal clicks from competition. You can also target low competition areas. They probably won't be long competition for very long. If you're successful, people will notice. You might go on a podcast talking about it, and then everyone will notice. But my point is just that it's there is an economic side of this, supply demand, and you're right. Like some spaces start out good, but then get too crowded over time. But what I would argue is that there's always some level of tightening your targeting, tightening your ad copy, and making the match there tighter and tighter and tighter, to the point that it probably can't be improved much more. So whether someone's doing that with you, you'll always sort of be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you'll all share the clicks, depending on your willingness to pay.
Okay, so you're just more granular and you're outworking the competition so that they can't, I guess, keep up with the amount of ad groups and targeting level that you've got, the granularity.
What I'll say is at this point, there's not that many people doing this. There's far fewer people doing this than, say, organic. So the competition is slightly less fierce. You can also sort of target the same general keywords, but then, yeah, like you said, be more specific and more granular with one or two. So if you find one that's working, like double, triple, quadruple down on those, and then sort of keep the rest as a test spend that you're marinating, trying to understand which ones you want to break out and be more granular with. And then there are big companies. So I'll mention that there are big companies, Forbes, USA Today, like big publishers that do this. And this is actually a big part of their business model. Everyone talks in the SEO world about how Forbes is absolutely crushing it from a organic perspective, but you know where else they're crushing it is from a paid media arbitrage perspective. And so it has been the case. I have experienced it where you have a gold mine for a good amount of time, and then one of these bigger publishers comes in and starts bidding and driving up CPCs, making the arbitrage play less likely. But even in those cases, there's still sort of evergreen profit to be had. It just gets whittled away over time, much like SEO. But you can control the geography. There's many more levers to pull with a paid campaign that you cannot pull with SEO. When your rankings start to decline with SEO, you just kind of throw your hands up and start to edit the content a bit more, and hope that you're doing the right things. When things decline from a paid search perspective or a paid media arbitrage perspective, there are some pretty clear levers to pull. Maybe you target a different geo, maybe you pause certain keywords, maybe you double down on what's working and eking out some profit there. And so you can just be more nimble in your approach of optimization than the black box of SEO.
Nice. Yeah, I was just mulling over what you're saying that the educational part, and that's why I think that it's frustrating to see a lot of what's happened in HCU attacking a lot of product reviews. And I do disagree with a lot of the search intents for a lot of best and versus and review keywords now, where you often won't see an actual affiliate intent article in the top 10 anymore. You'll see e-commerce collection pages and UGC from Reddit, Quora, and then maybe one like high DR site that's like managed to get like a massive newspaper or something, and that's the case for a lot of these ones. And so I do think it could actually be. You'll have more data than me. It's probably good for affiliates running paid because you're now the only option answering the intent that a lot of people have that isn't being served right now with the educational part. And I think that it's short sighted from Google to rely on whatever data they have when I know human brains want to compare before they look at one brand's thing a lot of the time. They want to be led through the shop before they get to the till.
100%. Yeah. I mean, so in some ways I think there's an argument, a conspiracy argument to be made here that a lot of the helpful content update, a lot of the culling of this helpful educational content in the top 10 of Google is actually to encourage people like me to spend more money on ads. I mean, I don't want to be dark and sinister about it. And I think Google is a huge organization that likely has competing priorities, but yeah, I mean, this is definitely a impact that it will have, or an incentive structure that's changing, which is great. This helpful content that I used to just sort of create and allow you to index for free, and in response, I used to get free traffic for that. If that's no longer happening, then if you can't beat them, join them. Like maybe I'll just go and buy the traffic, right? And I think you either are now investing more in Reddit, Pinterest, and Facebook, as you mentioned, or you are investing more in ads. And so I'm not sure how this nets out for Google. I think they had recently pretty great earnings results, in terms of revenue and profit. So I think, yeah, I can't speak to whether or not things are converting better or worse from a paid perspective, pre versus post HCU. There's kind of too many variables, maybe, but I can definitely say that if you're in the game of being an affiliate, your strategies your available options for growth have changed quite a bit. And so it's either like organic content of some kind off of Google, so newsletter, podcast, YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, or you're like, how do I just get to the top of Google in another way? And that would be through paid ads. So this is another option, or in addition to those options. But definitely in response to the hollowing out of the first page of Google for helpful comparison shopping queries, as you mentioned.
Yeah. With Google, my previous spending with Google, we've tried breaking even, and we have made some profit with SaaSes that I used to work with. And we've also tried buying Google ads for just sending them to like statistics pages to buy links for stuff that we thought journalists would go to. But I haven't done a lot of the typical like arbitrage stuff, so it's interesting to hear. How, what are your quick tips for anyone listening to this who wants to reduce the cost per click as much as possible without affecting their results?
Yeah, so the inputs for cost per click are, in my estimation, I'm not I didn't create the system or whatever, but I have spent too many hours in there. Um, is basically competition on a broad-based level. So are you going after competitive keywords in a competitive space? So you could decide to go after less competitive keywords or decide to target a less competitive space. That's possible. The second thing within that is match type. So basically making the keyword and the ad, so the keyword and the query match your ad copy as closely as possible. For instance, if Google can anticipate a higher click-through rate, they'll give you a lower CPC. And this is why branded search, for instance, like if you bid on your own brand, it's much cheaper. Those clicks are much cheaper for you than they will be for your competitor, because Google anticipates a higher click-through rate for you bidding on those terms and your result than your competitor, and therefore your CPC is much lower. So it's kind of the same process as I mentioned before of tightening the match between the query, the keyword, the ad copy, and your landing page. This all used to be called quality score, so to speak. It was bundled into a number called quality score. I don't think Google even surfaces that number anymore. I'm sure they still calculate it and use it in their own auction. But yeah, this is kind of the nature of the beast, is that CPCs are volatile based on competition, based on your expected CTR or your quality score. And then, of course, there's some seasonality as well. So what I've noticed is that around Black Friday, Cyber Monday, November, December, CPCs go up for every single ad platform everywhere. It doesn't matter your niche. And why is that? Well, because there's more. The general reason is because there's more competition. More advertisers are bidding on the same eyeballs or keywords at the same time. Supply demand, right? But I also would, again, conspiracy tin hat coming on here, would argue that perhaps these platforms are just bumping up the prices during that time of year. And so there is a little bit of this, supply demand economics, as I mentioned, but also our benevolent overlords, being these ad platforms, are monopolies, right? They're all in antitrust lawsuits. So I don't know, could they just raise prices like every other monopoly does at a certain time of year and profit nicely? Probably. So this is my point, is that there's different things that go into that will impact your overall CPC. But the biggest one that you can control is, sorry about that, is definitely the ad copy to keyword to query match. That's the most important one.
Right. So when you are tightening those, it's not just because you want to get the most clicks, it's also because getting the most clicks actually makes the cost per click less.
Yep. You can think of it as like anything you can do to increase the CTR. And this is another way to optimize and look at your campaigns as well. Is if you see low CTR ads, keywords, ad groups, they're probably not serving you. You're probably paying too much for the CPCs, and you're probably getting too little out the other end. So CTR is a very, very important metric. It indicates that your ad copy is matching the query, and that you're targeting the right queries. So it's kind of maybe two pieces there, but yeah, that's one metric to look at closely if you're looking to lower your CPCs, or if the math isn't quite working out for you from an arbitrage perspective. If you're not able to reach profitability, you likely want to lower your CPCs, and the way you would do that is to increase the tightness of your targeting.
Yeah. How do you get a brand to let you bid on their brand name?
Yeah, this is a challenge often. So it depends on, in many cases, if you read the terms of an affiliate program, like you join the program through the front door and you digitally sign the contract, and now all of a sudden you're a partner. In very clear terms, almost always they say no TM plus bidding, and oftentimes no PPC as well. And so that's pretty ironclad and pretty straightforward. You as an affiliate are not allowed to do that. If they find out that you're doing that, they'll either kick you out straight away, or they'll ask you to stop. So the key to this, in my opinion, is you have to work with brands that are very hungry to grow, very flexible, and that you have a good relationship with. That's a kind of prereqs. You can't just walk in the front door of a brand that you don't know and are unproven and say, hey, like let me run this for you. Typically, I mean, there's probably some edge cases. So really what you're working with is the subset of where this is possible is your best partners, your most lucrative partners, and that's where to look first. And then, you can approach them and say, hey, look, I know we've been partners for a while, and I know that I've been driving you solid performance. I have an idea for growth. Are you looking for more customers? Are you looking for more leads? And that's generally an easy way to open the conversation. And once you're now pitching them on ideas, I think the message that resonates most is, hey, we as a credible third party are in a better position to to tell a certain story for a certain comparison shopper than you are yourself. And it is maybe and then they'll often say, oh, but what about incrementality? Like, aren't these users going to come and convert on my site anyway? Why would I pay you to, and potentially pay you more than an organic affiliate? Why would I pay you for this user? And I would say, no, you're right. You're right. There are certain queries that are less incremental. There are certain queries that it's less clear cut. This user is going to come to you first and convert with you, or may have never heard of you. So for instance, a review query, so brand review, and I'm working with that brand. Yeah, I mean, that person already knows about the brand. They're already sort of convinced that they're looking to shop. So I can see a very strong argument there that that's not 100% incremental. But if you're talking about the competitor's name review, they may not even know about the brand that I'm working with, right? They may have never heard about that brand, and they're going pretty deep down the shopping path with your competitor. Wouldn't you like to be inserted in that conversation? Another thing would be like a versus query. So that one's pretty on the nose. It's like they know about the brand that I'm working with, but they're considering another brand. And do you really want, depending on the nature of who that competitor is and their relationship to you and how their product offering compares to yours, do you really want to leave that into the hands of fate, or do you want a little extra push and help to educate the user? The other pushback that I get often, besides incrementality, so would this user have come to us anyway, is, well, now you're competing with me in the auction, and now you're going to drive up my CPCs. So you're going to make the cost of the program, the advertisers program, the brand advertisers ads, you're going to make them more expensive, and isn't that just going to cannibalize my cost per acquisition or whatever? And I would say you're right. If we compete on the same keywords, we will slightly boost up the CPCs for you. But 2 points of contention there, or two things to consider there. One is we can tightly align on which keywords you want us to bid on and don't bid on. So if you're worried about some of them because they're your golden goose keywords and you don't want us to bid up the cost there, by all means, we'll not bid on those. So we can align on a very narrow set of keywords. And secondly, we're just one, secondly, we're just one advertiser. So the cost, we can measure this. Like, why don't we try it and see how much your CPCs increase? And if they are really through the roof, then we'll pause. So we can sort of test into it. And in every case that I've done that, the CPC increase has been negligible or unmeasurable to some degree. So there's that. And then, yeah, those are kind of the big ones, in the sense that you can sort of talk them off the ledge or get them to narrow the focus of this and let them know that you're willing to be a very nimble partner that works in lockstep with them, and you're not going to just open this up and create a big mess for them internally. I guess one final argument that I use often is, great, you occupy one spot. What your team is doing really well is you're occupying one sponsored spot in the top 3. But wouldn't you also like an advocate in the second or the third spot as well? Like, if you're really hungry for growth, this is the way to get 2 really nice spots. And in fact, one of them is a third party singing your praises, which is even more valuable than just yourself. So I don't know, if I'm a growth marketer, if I'm running your team, I think there are definitely arguments to be made that say, hey, this is worth a shot, and let's see how it performs. So that's typically my argument. It depends on the nature of how experimental or how creative the person in charge is, how hungry they are for growth, what their experience has been with paid affiliates in the past. There's a lot of things that impact this decision. But generally, if you're a trusted partner, you can get folks to agree to a lightweight test.
Yeah, I'm surprised when you say it like that there's much resistance, because if I'm in that position, I want to stack the deck. If I know that how profitable and high growth this industry is, I want all of the people saying how good I am. I'd even, to be honest, I'm not sure if this is done. I'd be interested to hear if you've been approached with this. I'd just post a bunch of parasites on trusted websites and then just run more traffic to them. That, like, exactly the kind of advertorial education thing that I'd want to say about my own brand, and then run multiple different ads on different Google Ads accounts to all of them for the same keyword, so that they're all saying good things about me with that look like they're from like impartial newspapers, but they're actually all by me. Is that a thing, or am I just terrible and have no morals?
Well, yeah, I guess, theoretically, maybe in the world of AI tooling where all this becomes super easy and fast, yeah, by all means, like go to town with it. Just clone, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. In the current stage, at least for me, it's a little too clunky. It takes too long to create a new site and to create a new landing page and to create a new ad account and to, get all of that going. To hit copy paste on all of those things. There's also a huge component of tracking here, conversion tracking, which is quite complex to set up. This is maybe the hardest part of the whole stack. So you're right. Like theoretically, if you could just very quickly copy and paste each one of these nodes, the brand should be doing this themselves. Google is getting better about forcing advertisers on their platform to identify who they are. So now you can hover over an ad on Google, get more information about. You can get the name of that organization that's running that ad, et cetera, et cetera. It's usually a corporation, and so in that case, it may be harder. You might have to create multiple corporate structures or something. So like in practice to actually pull off this strategy is maybe more not worth it. Maybe not worth it. Maybe it's better just to partner with somebody like me or three people like me. From a brand's perspective. But yeah, you're right. Like in a world where this friction is reduced, I could see there already are AI influencers on TikTok. I think that was announced just the other day, right? So I could see there being sort of like AI advertisers on your behalf as well as an affiliate program filled with affiliate robots. But probably that dystopia is not too far away.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned tracking, because that was my next big question, and it's something that everyone wants to know for something like this. Because something as sensitive as putting your own money on the line, I need to know exactly what's going on here. It's an emotional thing. I can't not know where my money's going. Um, so yeah, I guess blanket overall question: how do you track conversions from paid ads with the least noise possible?
Yeah. So here's the long story short. When you launch these ads, well, I guess I'll take a step back and say that part of this lack of control in the funnel is also the tracking piece. So the conversion event happens on somebody else's site. It's not your site, and therefore your source of truth is likely the conversion platform. So Impact, Share of Sale, Everflow. In some cases, your partners may not be on those platforms. And so your source of truth is their website or their affiliate manager emailing you. And so anyway, you just have to know your source of truth and then work within your source of truth to pass in information that allows you to differentiate these conversions from any other kind of conversion, right? So as long as you're able to tag in your source of truth, let's call it Impact for now, just an affiliate platform, popular affiliate platform with millions of advertisers. Let's say that's what your advertiser is using. That's where all your conversions are going to funnel into. And so when you first launch your campaign, you likely want to launch with a bidding strategy of max clicks, because you're not going to have any of this conversion tracking. You're not going to have visibility into the conversion tracking passed back to Google. And so the very best you can do from a bidding algorithm perspective is to say, Google, target people who are going to click through or click through to my landing page. You might be able to do one step better, which is to say, target people who are clicking through to my landing page and clicking through to a brand that I care about on that landing page, right? So you got the affiliate click tagged. And then you could change your bidding strategy to cost per conversion. And your conversion event is just sending traffic to your affiliate partner. And you know kind of what the earnings per click are on on average with your partner. And then you can try and get the cost per that conversion, which is a click to that partner, to be less than your earnings per click. And so this is like how you start off. That's like basic conversion tracking on your own website. And again, like I recommend starting with max clicks as a beginning, and then you're able to instrument this click to an affiliate partner, and then you're moving to max conversions. But to really get things humming, to like really juice this and really feel confident turning on the gas and getting the algorithm to do as much work for you as possible, you want to optimize for things that are actually monetizable, things that you get paid on. And in most programs, you're not getting paid just to send traffic to the advertiser. You're getting paid when somebody takes an action on their site, like becomes a lead or becomes a customer. And so in order to get that data back to Google is kind of a long, circuitous, slightly technical setup, which is to say you need to pass what's called a GCLID, Google Click ID, from the ad onto your landing page. You need to append it to all the links on your landing page so that when that user clicks through to the partner, that GCLID is then passed onto the partner's site. And then when they convert on that partner site, it's then passed into Impact as a sub ID. So now you can imagine if you set all that up correctly, you have a conversion in Impact or your source of truth with a GCLID. And that's great. Like now you have those two things tied together. And then the final step is to have a separate script that pulls down conversions every day into a spreadsheet from your source of truth. So from Impact, it could be Trackonomics if you have an aggregator of aggregators. It could be like you write a custom script to pull down from your partner's website. But regardless, you're able to pull down every day into a spreadsheet all the conversions that have a GCLID, and then you're able to automatically upload those into Google as an offline conversion. If you can do one step better, which is to not just say, at that point, Google would know this click ID. So from this ad, from this keyword, from this creative, we got a conversion. And it was a meaningful conversion, not a click to a partner's site. No, it was a conversion that generated you money. And therefore now Google's algorithms can optimize towards that event, which is actually the event you care about. Not a proxy of the event you care about, but the actual monetizable event. And you can go one step better and say, not only was that a monetizable event, but it had this value associated with it. And in some cases, the value associated with these is variable. Some conversions, somebody buys 10 things and it's a huge conversion for you. In some case, somebody buys one thing and it's a smaller conversion for you. Not all programs are flat rate, is my point. Some of them have variable payouts. And so if you can not only tell Google or your ad platform of choice when you've had a successful conversion on a third-party site, so a purchase or a lead, but you can also tell the ad platform what that was worth to you, then you can tell Google to start targeting a certain profit margin, not just amount of conversions, not just a cost per conversion, not just an overall value of conversions, but you can tell it to target a very specific return on ad spend or a very specific margin. And that's really, in my opinion, the secret sauce to get these things to scale. So there's a series of steps that I would take to first like validate, make sure that you're near profitability, then go through a series of tweaks to like actually firm up and feel like you're profitable consistently. And once you're profitable consistently, then you say, wow, I'd like to step on the gas. And how do you do that? That's implementing conversion tracking in a more sophisticated way.
So are you just doing that from a G Sheet, or is there a specific software that you use to dial this in?
I'm sure there's a better way to do it than I'm doing it, but the way that I do it is two custom scripts. One is on my website. It's actually quite simple. Like a junior developer could write this in a couple hours. It's not a complicated piece of software, but what that piece of software does is it stores GCLID values when they come to my page, and then it appends them in a certain way to each link on the page, such that then that can be passed to the partner and the partner's affiliate source of truth. And then the second script is this API call script. So once daily, it queries the API of your source of truth, and it pulls down those conversions and it puts it into a Google Sheet. And then there's just some settings within Google Ads or any ad platform really to upload conversions. They call them offline conversions. In our case, they're not offline. They're just off of our website. And so they're from Google's perspective or the advertiser's perspective, they might as well be offline. They are technically online. They still happen on our partner's site. But we upload those as offline conversions through an automated schedule in Google. So yeah, there's really only two technical pieces here, or I guess the whole thing is a technical system, but if you don't code, so to speak, which I don't, you'll need to get a junior developer to customize two things, and that will be your script to store the gclid, and the second script to query the API and put those conversions into a Google Sheet.
Nice. And is that part of the course then? Do you offer those scripts?
I do. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably one of the best reasons to sign up. Other than just kind of wrapping your head around how all this works at a high level, and seeing fruitful examples. But for sure, I'll say it with confidence, this is the biggest challenge in setting this all up. The partnerships piece is tough. Maybe if you're not familiar with paid ads, the paid ads piece is some bit of learning curve. But the hardest part for everyone, including myself, is definitely getting the conversions to flow back into Google or your ad platform of choice from a third-party site.
Yeah. And are you using specific tools for anything else like A/B testing?
So within these ad platforms, they have nice kind of A/B testing tools natively. So Google has an experiment section. If you're looking to run, say, different bid strategies, different creatives, and test different elements there. From a landing page perspective, I have used A/B testing tools in the past, but I also will another way to do it is just to say, like, you spin up a clone. So you have two versions of the landing page, and then you set up the experiment in Google, and everything's the same except for the landing page. So that's another way to A/B test within Google without paying for expensive tools or overcomplicating it. Yeah, I think that people can try and be over scientific in this realm, and I think it's important to remember that the numbers really are really important. Like, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's how you improve and optimize. But you're very rarely going to get statistical significance. You're not going to have enough data here to have a large enough sample and run it over enough time to really have full confidence in any of these decisions. So you're always operating on somewhat imperfect data. And it's important to remember that, and both remember how that can lead you astray, but also understand, like, you'll be killing time if you're waiting to try and get statistical significance. You're probably not spending enough money on ads to really get a large enough sample. So you're always making micro optimizations, understanding that you might have to readjust later.
Right. And what about landing pages that have more than one source of traffic? For example, for me right now, something that I'm doing is trying to run ads to pages that, like, might be the homepage or might be something else in some cases, or to sell software that other affiliates are also sending traffic to, or like anything else. How do you discern on page, or are you just going to say absolutely do not do that, just start a separate landing page and just make sure it's separate for anything you're running ads to? But how would you discern between sources of traffic in those cases, especially as an affiliate where I presume the conversions will fall into one bucket rather than sources of traffic buckets?
Yeah, are you talking about driving traffic to paid traffic to your own pages, or paying traffic to your partners' pages?
Yeah, I guess I was coming up because I'm thinking about like my own products where I'm trying to discern between them. But I guess if we go down the let's go affiliate route rather than anything else, and just see where we go from there. How? But I guess you're just going to say now, just only create separate landing pages, right? And then have it no index and have the other one for organic. Yeah, that makes sense actually.
This is easy. Yeah, it's a couple clicks, right? Generally, it takes 5 minutes to do that, so you might as well. You'll have a really clean read, so long as you're not like, as long as you're careful about which landing pages to paste where, right? But that's pretty simple and straightforward too. Yeah. So I think, yeah, generally speaking, try and separate them as much as possible. Don't muddy the waters. I mean, there's different ways to do this too. You can have UTM parameters drive traffic all to the same page, but have different UTM parameters, and then use Google Analytics as your source of truth to differentiate the traffic. It's really just about what your source of truth is. And in my case, I am always using the affiliate dashboard, the affiliate platform. That's my source of truth for commission, because if it doesn't get in there, I know I'm not getting paid. And so that's the one I care most about. And so I want to get the traffic differentiated in that platform. And generally, to get traffic differentiated in, say, an impact or share sale, whatever it may be, you're going to want to use what they call like a sub ID field, sub ID 1, sub ID 2, sub ID 3. There's lots of them, but you just store the channel value, or this, where did this lead come from? Where was the source of this lead in one of those kind of auxiliary fields, and then you can slice and dice your data within that platform, even to have different incentives. It's often the case that your affiliate partners, the brands themselves, will want to pay you different amounts for different traffic sources. And this is another reason to differentiate the traffic, is that you can then have different affiliate links on that page. This is another reason to build a separate landing page, rather than have it all go to one, because if it's all on one landing page, it has the same affiliate link in every case. And therefore you're only incentivized in one way. But I've had brands pay more for paid traffic, and I've had brands pay less for paid traffic. It just depends on how they see the value of that in their overall mix.
Yeah. Okay, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense, I guess. And I presume you could just duplicate it with some WordPress or ClickFunnels or anything else, and then just quickly get separate pages up to run ads to. Okay, cool. One of the people, I don't think I can mention their name. Last couple quick questions to fire at it, but I'm interested in especially this one. One of the people at Chiang Mai, I don't think I'm going to mention the name because I think it is quite a low-key, secretive thing, ran experiments and found that if you run paid ads to a page, it gets it indexed. It also makes the page rank for more keywords. Obviously, you're no indexing them, but have you seen any SEO benefits to running paid ads?
I long theorized about this as well, and was hoping that would be the case. I don't have evidence to suggest that it is. But I have typically de-indexed my landing pages. And so, like, as I mentioned, I don't run paid traffic to organic pages, and I'm very explicit about de-indexing the paid pages. So, I might be, maybe I could have a better results if I were, remove that firewall, so to speak. But there are other interesting aspects that happen from paid traffic. I'll call it gravy on top. So in addition to maybe printing some profit, and diversifying your overall traffic mix, and so being less reliant on just one source, you get a lot of credit card points because you're putting all this money on a credit card. You get actually quite a few email subscribers if you have an email subscribe button in your footer. So that's kind of like, or if you're doing this on social, you get some social followers. That's nice. Yeah, I mean, basically there's just a couple of other sort of halo effects, that, it boosts your overall traffic to other pages as well. So even if you don't have a lot of escape funnels, escape routes on your landing page, people will click on your logo. They'll go to your homepage. They'll check out who you are. And so, or like, if it's on social, they'll go to your profile. They'll look at your profile. They click on the link in bio. Like, you will get a trickle of traffic elsewhere as well. But it's really gravy on the top. The main thing you're looking for here is profit through arbitrage.
Yeah, you've actually touched on my last little final question, which was that a lot of rewards out there for US credit cards for running these ads on, which seems like a nice cherry on top. Unfortunately, though, in the UK, we just don't get access to the same offers, and I presume it's the same everywhere else outside that isn't the US, right? So if I'm running paid ads and I'm in the UK, can I still get access? Is there a way that you know of to get access to these great credit card deals for points back and air miles and all the rest of it? Or am I just stuck in a prison of my geography?
Well, is it the case? I'm not familiar. Is it the case in the UK that there are no credit card rewards programs, or just that they're weaker than the ones in the US?
They're just so much worse, like so much worse.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'd say is that, I don't know, maybe you work with a US based media buyer, and you split those credit card points
Yeah.
if you're really into it. Or I actually don't know if that's how it works. I'm not sure how they peg you as UK based. But yeah, I guess it's you're a citizen and it's in your name or not. I mean, they're basically, most cards will give you some level of cash back, at least here in the US, on any purchase, or any purchase up to a certain amount. But then there are certain credit cards here that'll say, like, oh, for specific categories, business categories, like online advertising or software, or printing or something like that, you can get like 2, 3, 4x whatever the normal rate of points rewards are. And so, yeah, unfortunately, if that doesn't exist in the UK, I'm not sure. I still think you'll get some rewards for spending, tens of thousands of dollars a month on your credit card. But yeah, that's interesting. Maybe there's a startup idea in there for somebody to arbitrage the points as well.
Yeah, that's honestly, I'd pay someone to do that for me if it meant that I got like free hotel stays and business class flights for if I was running a lot of these ads and stuff. Yeah, man. That was my last question. That
The
was super interesting.
the last thing I'll say about that is I don't know how many of your listeners feel like they're in this boat, but as a small time entrepreneur, either solo entrepreneur with a small team, it's often, at least for me, I meet people who have a way better handle on this, but it's hard for me to feel like I can leave my desk. It's hard for me to justify vacations. It's like, I don't know. I always feel like my business is one step away from crashing, even though it's been running for a good amount of time. But when you have credit card points, that is quite literally, in my mind, in most people's minds, free money. I mean, it really does feel free. It does not feel like you earned it, really. And so it gives you a lot more license to take advantage of, go on vacation, take a weekend. And so, yeah, I think it's a huge blessing in disguise. Even if you're making a ton of money, oftentimes it doesn't feel like you want to spend it because you earned it. But in this case, you didn't really earn it, so you have no choice but to spend it. So it's a really nice category of gravy.
Nice. Yeah, honestly, I'm tired of actually paying for flights and upgrades, and I want them to do it for me. So I need to get on this paid ads game and make sure that I don't have to pay for upgrades anymore for these nice journeys and that. So yeah, um, I'm gonna do some research. I will post a comment on this YouTube video if I do find anything for any UK or any other country listeners here. If I do find something, because it's just so, like you say, it's free money. Like at least I figure that one out, because that is a big reason to run or increases profit margin if it's basically free money. Yeah, Alex, that was super interesting. Thanks for coming on. I'm really interested in this. I can't wait to go through the course and try that, to be honest, because I need to learn more about the ads game generally. I would like to try the affiliate arbitrage, but I also just need to get better at media buying generally. And I look forward to getting in the mindset of someone who's really trying to get and maximize these campaigns, because anyone can set and forget, but not everyone can tune it in so that it's really good and do a really high quality job. And so, just before you go, give people a quick rundown. We've touched on it into what the course offering that you've built is based on your experience, just in case anyone wants to take a look.
For sure, yeah. So, I basically, after over a decade of media buying, both in small companies, larger growth stage companies, and then as a consultant, and then, having started my own company and ran paid arbitrage campaigns for 5+ years, just wanted to consolidate all those learnings, especially in the wake of the helpful content update, when a lot of publishers, a lot of affiliates are struggling to find their next act or find their next traffic source, a steady state, and wondering, hey, how do I felt like I built my house on a mountain of sand. How do I build it on a sturdier foundation now? Um, just all of those factors, wanted to consolidate the learnings into a course, and so yeah, really have tried to be as thorough as possible. You can find it at paidmediaaffiliates.com. It's hard to know what to call this space in this particular motion. Is it PPC arbitrage? Are you a paid search affiliate? Is arbitrage too complicated of a word for people to understand? It's a mouthful regardless, but basically this idea of leveraging paid spend to make more in commission than you spend, and therefore profiting from that traffic source. And yeah, it comes with a lot of. I think one of the nice parts is not everybody learns in different ways. So some people like to read slides, some people like to hear me talk, some people would like it in a blog post or like social media kind of soundbite format. But one of the nice things I think everybody will appreciate is just the sort of the templated aspect of this. There are resources in there that it's like you just sort of spoon feeding you. You can just not quite copy paste, but you can follow step by step. You can take the tracking scripts and tweak them a couple ways, put them on your site, and have them humming. So a lot of this guesswork, a lot of this pioneering is taken out of, or it has been removed for you, such that yeah, you can just use a template, get started right away, and not spend so much time and money the way that I've had to over the years.
Nice. Yeah, we'll put a link to that in the description. If you're listening to this on the podcast channels, it'll be in the description. If you're listening to it on YouTube, it'll be in the YouTube description. Check that out if you want to learn more about paid ads arbitrage and affiliate marketing by non-organic and paid means instead. Thanks for coming on, Alex. That was a really interesting one. It's a topic that I'm very interested in, and so purely selfishly, I'm glad that I got to do this one. And yeah, have a lovely rest of the day, and we appreciate your time and insights on the podcast.
Thanks so much, Jamie. You too. Talk